Welcome to one of the biggest crossover events in Power Ranger and Kamen Rider fanfiction history, with almost 30 storylines crossing over. These storylines are written and read to you guys across multiple platforms and given to you by the Three Ranger Bros Studios, which is hosted by Mark the Red Cornish Ranger, Cosplay Dude 637, and myself, Ty Tiger. So prepare to dive into a storyline that not only crosses over all these stories, but hosts a threat that is willing to take down the entire multiverse as we know it. Let us begin. Rangers and Riders Unite. War for the Multiverse. Part 2. In Search for the Apex Rangers. Mark, Elias, Lip, Himiko, Eric from Universe 2118, also known as the Power Rangers Global, stood with Brohan, who was their mentor and brother to Zordon and Shinon. Dante, Luca, Chloe, Amy, Leo, with their girl behind the computer, CJ, stood there with their brother team, which consists of Xander, Alib, and Ivy, hailed from Universe 113. All the teams stood before the group from Universe 19. Jason walked over to Mark and Dante.
How do we know you're really who you say you are?
Jason asked.
Dude, please. How many Cornish men do you know sporting a Red Ranger suit and can wield Saba better than Tommy?
Mark said with a cocky grin. Put Xander in front of me and I'll kick his ass. Dante chuckled.
Good enough for me. I'm glad you guys are okay.
Jason sighed. Mark and Dante fist bumped Jason, then everyone mingled together. Adam went straight for Dante and hugged him. Dude, I'm glad you're okay. Adam sighed with relief. Yeah, me too. When we tried contacting you, we didn't get an answer. It was very, triggering, I guess. Dante muttered. Hey, I got you, okay? All of you guys, Adam told the Future Foundation team. It's good to see, Luca choked, then he dived into Adam's arms. Adam looked around and noticed that Chloe's mother Kara was nowhere to be seen. Chloe? Where's your mum? Adam asked. Chloe looked down in a solemn way and shook her head. Oh, Chloe, I'm so sorry, Adam sighed. He hugged her and she started crying in his arms. He held onto the teenage girl as her grief led her in the form of tears. Adam turned his attention to Xander and Eric, his two best friends in the entire universe. In their own right and their own way, they had become Power Rangers. He walked up to Eric. He had not seen him for a few months. Dude, am I glad to see your sorry ass, Dante told him. Eric and Dante both fist bumped each other.
Dude, only reason why I'm alive is to keep you and Xander alive.
Eric chuckled.
I am not that bad, man. I can handle my own.
Xander snorted. He fist bumped his friends and Eric let out a long sigh.
How did those dudes end up attacking us all at the same time?
Eric muttered.
Excellent question, Eric. If I can have everyone's attention, please.
Zordon announced. Everyone grouped up around Zordon's tube.
Welcome to those from Universe 113 and Universe 2118. It is a pleasure to see you all, but sadly, it's under dire times. What we thought was a mass attack on our own universe turns out to be a multiversal attack. We need to work together and we need to figure out a way to stop this threat before we lose the entire multiverse.
Zordon told him. What's the plan, Zordon? Kimberly asked.
I think it's time I interjected here.
Shinon butted in. Everybody turned to the Guardian at a time. She stepped forward and looked uneasy.
I might have an advantage that might aid us in taking down our new threat.
Shinon said bluntly. Oh, awesome. What is it? Izzy piped up. Shinon took a deep breath. She looked over to her two brothers, then she exhaled slowly.
There is another form of the morphing grid, different enough to the Ultra Grid. It has its own name. My son is the guardian to the Rangers that draw power from the grid.
Shinon told the group. Sister, you have a son? We have a nephew? Brohan asked.
I will admit, I am shocked.
Zordon stated.
I kept him a secret as the apex grid is only needed when its opposing force awakens and threatens a universe. He trains souls that have died in new avatar bodies to handle the threat.
Shinon explained. Hang on, Apex Grid? Fred asked. Whoa, backtrack a minute. You have a kid now? Zack snapped.
I am sorry I kept this from you, but it was necessary.
Shinon sighed. Jason walked up to Shinon.
I understand why you kept this secret, and trust me, there is a important conversation me and you are going to have about keeping secrets, but right now, our universe is nothing but empty space with sphere-shaped rocks. So, how do we get in contact with your son?
Jason growled.
I have tried to contact him mentally, but he has yet to respond. I am afraid he has not responded. Would anyone go and get him in the Apex Rangers?
Shinon asked the room. Shinzo raised his hands. You guys need us? It's our home too. I need to get out of here. Stretch my legs a bit, you know, Shinzo muttered. Eric also raised his hand.
Count me in.
Eric called out. Trini raised her hand also. You'll need an Ultra Ranger on the team, Trini said. She turned to Billy. He nodded at her.
Thank you so much. The three of you prepare yourself for the mission ahead, and we can go.
Shinon told the three. Mark then walked forward and cleared his throat.
I need to go check on my universe. My Earth could be in danger. I need to find out and help if I can.
Mark stated.
That is a perfectly valuable thing to do, Mark. But I must stress you do not go alone.
Zordon replied. Dante then turned to his team. You guys cool staying put? Dante asked. His team nodded at him. Good. Xander, you're in charge. CJ, help Haley with anything. Dante ordered. Then he walked up to Mark.
Dante, you don't need to follow me. This is not your universe. Not your problem.
Mark stated. Dude, shut up. We both know having me around comes in handy. Plus, we know each other's fighting patterns. You know I got your back here, Dante argued. Mark exhaled slowly, then nodded at him.
Yeah, you got a point.
Mark sighed. Haley then turned to the Cyberforce Rangers. Guys, please, we know Mark and Dante. They need our help. I ain't gonna push anyone, but giving them backup is the right move, Haley told her team. I'll go, Justin butted in. Thank you, Justin, Haley sighed. Looks like I have some work to do, Billy blurted. The rest of his team looked at him with a mixture of sorrow and understanding.
Thank you. I will take the help. My team needs the rest.
Mark grunted, looking over to the global team.
Once the two teams go off on their missions, the rest of us shall come up with a plan of attack.
Zordon told them. Haley typed away on the console and two portals opened. Mark and his team went through one and Shinon led her team through the other. Zordon then started planning their next course of action with those who remained.
Hey, Kirito! Did you hear about that new podcast?
What new podcast, Asu?
It's called the Tiger Nexus Podcast, run by Ty Tiger.
Hold on. I know that name. He's the guy behind Tiger Tales on YouTube, right?
Yep, that's right. And now he's launched his own podcast where he interviews content creators and nerds of all kinds.
No way, that sounds so cool. What's the name of the podcast again?
The Tiger Nexus Podcast. You can find it on all major podcast platforms.
Hold up, he's had Cosplay Dude 637 on there? That's amazing!
I know, right? He's also interviewed A-Crown, Mark the Red Corners Ranger, and many others.
I am totally subscribing to the Tiger Nexus podcast. I don't want to miss anything.
Tune into the Tiger Nexus Podcast by Ty Tiger for fascinating interviews with your favorite content creators and nerds. Find it wherever you get your podcasts. Don't miss out.
Shinon, Trini, Eric, and Shinzo all walked out of the portal and entered a planet called Grid Site 7.
What universe are we in?
Eric asked as he looked around the massive forest that surrounded an ancient temple.
Actually, Eric, this is Universe 113, your home universe.
Shinon replied.
Don't think I've heard of this planet.
Eric stated. Yeah, it smells kind of funny, Shinzo said, rubbing his nose. We should find your son quickly, Trini said harshly. Then Shinon nodded and she led them through the stone steps and into the temple.
Shinai? Shinai? Where are you?
Shinon called out, her voice echoing. Are you sure he's even here? Trini asked her.
There is an emergency place he should take the Apex Rangers in case there is a breach in their location,
Shinon stated.
Explain this Alpha Grid for me,
Eric asked.
There is an alien race, very powerful, very old, and hell-bent on the multiversal destruction. Power Rangers cannot harm these beings, so the Morphing Masters made the Apex Rangers. Using the new layer of the grid, the Apex Grid. It's unstable, but powerful, so the Morphing Masters worked with the first set of Apex Rangers to limit their powers, and only have them active when the threat awakens.
Shinon explained. So, where are they now, Shinon? Trini snapped.
Come on, this way.
Shinon gestured. The four of them left the temple and entered the large overgrown forest. They carried on walking when Eric stopped to pull out a bottle of water and to take a mouthful. Shinon took the chance to close her eyes and tried to reach out to her son mentally. You know, I ain't mad at you, right? Trini told her. Trini's words broke Shinon's concentration and she turned to Trini. I understand why you kept the truth about your son. Children make things complicated, Trini sighed.
You speak as if you have experience in this,
Shinon stated. Yeah, before we became Ultra Rangers, I got pregnant. I was excited, I was scared, and just as I became around the terms with it, I lost it, Trini said with a heavy sigh.
Does Billy know this?
Shinon asked her. Nah, I lost it before I could tell him. He has no idea, and now I've left it too long. Now I'm left with this burden, Trini said sadly.
First off, thank you for understanding. Second of all, thank you for sharing this with me. And third, if Billy loves you, he will understand,
Shinon said with a weak smile. Shinon placed her hand on Trini's shoulder, and Trini nodded. Then Shinzo called everyone over. Guys, I can smell fire, Shinzo called out. The other three grouped up with him.
How do you smell fire?
Eric asked. Enhanced senses, dude. Half anger, Shinzo stated. Then Shinzo led the way. They barged through some thin trees and found Shinai and his Apex Ranger trio sat in the stone circle. Mother? Shinai asked as he stood.
Hello, son. I'm glad to see you.
Shinon said. They all stepped over the rocks and entered the circle. What's with the stone circle? Shinzo asked. It's a protective circle. Nothing with negative intent can enter, Shinai explained. Shinai then turned to his mother. Mother, why have you brought these people here? Shinai asked.
The multiverse is in danger. We need the Apex Rangers.
Shinon responded. But mother, the Apex Rangers are only used for the Kagi, Shinai stated.
I know, but this is dire. I would not ask if it was not of the most importance,
Shinon said with a hint of begging in her tone. Mother, I have never seen you this panicked before. Shinai sighed. He turned to his trio who stood there awkwardly. I think we should help, Shinai told them. The trio walked up and introduced themselves. Hey there, I'm Peter, this is Bailey and Kylie, one said.
Nice to meet you. I'm Eric, this is Trini, and that's Shinzo.
Eric introduced them. They all shook hands and suddenly something appeared above the sky. It was the butterfly mecha. Trini and Shinzo recognized it from Universe 19. They're here, Shinzo said. Then several fade lasers appeared on the outside of the rock circle. Do not panic, anyone. Anyone with negative intent cannot enter this circle, Shinai stated. They all watched as one of the phasernizers stepped over one of the rocks and entered the circle with ease. But that must mean they have no negative intent, Shinai questioned. Or there aren't anybody with intent inside of it, Shinzo grunted. Shinai, get behind us, Bailey barked. You too, Shinon. Trini said. The mother and son stood behind the 6 heroes. Shinzo shook his bag, then suddenly a little mechanical bat flew out of it. Dude, what's going on? Komori grumbled. Dude, wake up, it's time to action, let's go, Shinzo barked. Yeah, okay, Komori grumbled. Komori flew into his hand. Trini held out her Ultra Morpher. Eric slipped on his ring. Peter revealed his Apex Morpher, which resembled the Lost Galaxy Morpher. Kylie pulled out her Apex Morpher, which resembled a brush and a gold pot of paint. And Bailey held out his Apex Morpher, which resembled the Power Morpher. Yellow Pegacorn, Trini barked.
Now you're not, Killchuck!
Eric called out. Let the hunt begin! The Apex trio all called out in unison. Henshin! Shinzo called out. Then symbols were painted, rider belts were triggered, morphers were pressed or extended outward, and in a flash of light the yellow Ultra Ranger, the gold Celtic Ranger, Kamen Rider Kiva, and the 3 Apex Rangers all stood before the Fadenizers.
There does not need to be a war here. We came to recruit, not fight.
Shinon called out. Get a portal open. We'll fend these things off for now, Kamen Rider Kiva ordered. The 3 Apex Rangers stood forward. Step back, guys. Let us handle these chumps, the Silver Apex Ranger said with a cocky attitude. The 3 Apex Rangers ran at the Fadenizers. The Bronze Ranger slammed his fist into one of the Fadenizers, knocking it flying back, crashing to the ground. The Silver Ranger ran over to one of the rocks within the circle. Don't need this now, the Silver Ranger grunted. She lifted the rock over her head and then threw it at the Fadenizers. Kamen Rider Kiva jumped up and double-kicked the Fadenizer in the chest. Ultra Ranger Yellow summoned her Ultra Daggers and slashed several of the Fadenizers in unison. The Gold Celtic Ranger blocked an incoming punch. Then he lifted the Fadenizer's arm up. With his free hand, he struck its rib cage, stomach, and helmet. The Gold Apex Ranger jumped up and slammed his fist onto the ground. The grassy dirt erupted as a shockwave knocked several Fadenizers into the air.
The portal is open. Everyone in now.
Shinon barked as she pointed at the portal behind her. The Bronze Ranger jumped up, swung his leg, but a Fadenizer caught him by the ankle and flipped him across the air, slamming him into the ground. Then another phaser jumped on top of him and slammed his knees into the Bronze Apex Ranger. Everyone ran through the portal, but the portal closed behind them. Everyone demorphed. Kylie and Bailey stood there stunned. Shinai approached them. I'm sorry. I don't think Peter survived, Shinai muttered. These things are powerful, and I'm gonna kill them, Kylie growled. Sounds like a plan to me. Bailey nodded. Shinai turned to his mother. Well, Mother, looks like we're invested. Where do you need us? Shinai asked. Shinon led Shinai to Brohon and Zordon and introduced her brothers to their nephew. Kylie and Bailey sat by themselves until Zack, Cece, and Xander from Universe 113 walked over to them and introduced themselves. The Apex Rangers had joined the ongoing army against the new threat. They may have lost one of their own, but they were ready to join the war for the multiverse.